Jiang Baige has traveled through, and even wore it until the late 1960s. As soon as she woke up, she had already boarded the educated youth special train heading north. Fortunately, the heavens saw the injustice of her previous life's death and gave her a supermarket that everyone had dreamed of. Jiang Baige. Oh my goodness, are you playing with me? If I don't have enough to eat or wear, why not let me die? Supermarket. Whatever you want to eat, take it yourself, it's all yours. Jiang Baige. Without money, I only have 13 yuan and 60.5 cents on me. Supermarket. So many things, take them and sell them. It's all yours. Jiang Baige. The way this man looks at people is too scary. He needs to stay away from them in the future. Chen Jiangwo. Wife, look at me. You see how handsome a man is, if you don't want him, others can't even take him. Jiang Baige. This man has bright eyes, a bright mouth, and is always fidgeting. He's not a good person. Chen Jiangwo. My wife is beautiful, kind-hearted, and has a good personality. She is delicate, like a little white rabbit. Supermarket. Selling goods, making money, upgrading. Chapter 1. Wearing until 60. You are listening at Novel Full.audio. The sound of the train's eyes clattering and clattering echoed all the way, and someone's voice rang in Jiang Baige's ear. Comrade Jiang, wake up. Are you going to have a meal? If it's past the designated time, there won't be any food on the dining car. The noisy sounds from far to near, like floodwaters with floodgates open, poured out with a loud roar and flooded into Jiang Baige's mind. Jiang Baige seems to be in a dream, as if she is about to wake up again. In the slight swaying of the train, she had a drowsy dream. I dreamed that I died in an explosion, and it was quite painful. Jiang Baige was originally an orphan and was sent to a special organization from a young age. Later, she became a member of the organization. Due to her lack of ruthlessness and incomplete knowledge of martial arts, she only learned some superficial skills from others. However, she is not as skilled as anyone in the organization. If she were to fight an ordinary person, she could easily defeat a few people without any problem. An employee without much combat power naturally cannot follow out of the task. I had several meetings with the organization and wanted to get rid of her. Fortunately, she has a strong computer skills, and it was her ability in this area that saved her a small life, so she followed suit and worked behind the scenes. Today, her task was originally to remotely track the task targets on the computer and coordinate with colleagues for ground operations. When they were about to complete the task, she suddenly received an order to go and get the box from the target's hand. At that time, she also had doubts as to why she was only asked to go and get it. There were so many people, but why did they go at this time? Without much thought, I followed the command. She hurriedly got off the car in the parking lot and headed towards the target of the task. There was someone in the earphone directing her in the direction she was going. As she walked, she prepared and waited for other colleagues to confront that person. She took advantage of the unpreparedness and grabbed the box. The target she was tracking was right in front of her, and I didn't know what the person was thinking. Suddenly, she took a turn and walked into the underground mall in front of her. The original task was to start in a sparsely populated area. As long as the target obtained the box in their hand, they would not care about their life or death. But she didn't expect that the suitcase in that person's hand was actually filled with a bomb. When someone in her earphone reported something was wrong, Jiang Baige knew it had happened. In the earphone, let the nearest person stop the target and prevent him from going to crowded places. The Jiang white pigeon was closest to him, as he had just knocked him down and pressed him to the ground when the bomb in his suitcase exploded instantly. Jiang Baige only had time to think, I'm too unlucky. I didn't do anything and just died like this. The explosion came too fast, and she didn't even feel the pain, instantly losing consciousness. Feeling both hands supporting her shoulders and shaking, Jiang Baige suddenly woke up in fear, half opening her eyes without knowing what it was tonight. Perhaps seeing that she didn't react, a moment later, a warm hand rested on her forehead. A girl exclaimed in surprise, "Oh my goodness! What's wrong with Comrade Jiang? His forehead is so hot. Comrade Zhou, come and take a look. Comrade Jiang's face is so pale, and his forehead is covered in sweat, which is still very hot." Suddenly, a rustling sound sounded in her ear, and Jiang Baige unconsciously frowned and slowly opened her eyes. At first glance, it was a vast expanse of white, with some unable to see the surroundings clearly, and my head was still very dizzy. She lifted her head from the small table and shook it, feeling both headache and dizziness, which is a symptom of a cold. Just now she seemed to have a dream, but it was so real that she couldn't distinguish between a dream and reality. Suddenly, a memory that didn't belong to her came to mind. She seems to have died, it was the explosion that killed her. After her death, she traveled again and passed through the body of another Jiang Baige. After a while, she finally realized that she had truly traveled. The original owner of her body now is also called Jiang Baige, and like her fate, she is also an orphan. However, this little girl is much luckier than Jiang Baige from the 21st century. 16 years ago, the original owner, who was still in swaddling clothes, was thrown into the winter grass by his family. Coincidentally, they were picked up by a couple surnamed Jiang who passed by and returned home. The current parents of the original owner have been married for many years without children. Because Jiang's father and mother thought that the grass was a pigeon back then and planned to take it back to eat. As I approached, I realized that there was a baby wrapped in white cloth in the grass, and that's how the name Jiang Baige came from. When Jiang Baige was 6 years old, the Jiang family's husband and wife both welcomed their biological children at the age of 40. Some people say that this child was brought to their family by Jiang Baige, and when the older one comes to this house, they will bring their siblings together. It is said that this was a good deed done by the Jiang family and their wife, who took in a struggling child. This behavior has accumulated virtue, so this small one is a reward from heaven. Although there was a strong crackdown on feudal superstition at this time, the Jiang family and his wife still firmly believed in it. The Jiang couple has their own son, but they also love their eldest daughter very much. The youngest son is the daughter who brought this matter to them. Whether others believe it or not, they have recognized it and will love Jiang Baige even more in the future. After Jiang Baige grew up a bit, she always heard people around her say that she was not her parents' biological child, but they picked her up from outside. If you have your own child in the future, don't let her be such a loser. The meaning of stirring up discord between words should not be too obvious. The original owner has been sensible since childhood, not to mention, after hearing this, she began to live cautiously. Due to her weak and sickly condition, she couldn't help her family, but her studies were still good and she even got into high school. She's not stupid, but as she grows older, she can still distinguish between good and bad. My parents are good to her, and my younger brother Jiang Baige is also very well behaved. Although our family lives in poverty, fortunately they are also very happy. Until the year before, the quota for supporting national construction was distributed to the Jiang family. According to age, there is not a single person in their family's quota. Jiang's parents are already in their 40s and have already passed this age. Only Jiang Baige is left, and it's still 2 months away from reaching age. If it's not a mistake or someone has tampered with it inside. Jiang's father also felt there was a problem and went to inquire, but they only said that it was verified and there would be no mistakes. That night, Jiang's father and mother spent the whole night discussing under the covers. Their daughter was too young and they didn't want her to go to the countryside. The old couple discussed going to find a relationship and see if they could spend some money to keep the person. Although their voices were low, they were still heard by Jiang Baige, who was separated by a wall. Jiang Baige knows that in this family, where can we come up with money? They will definitely go find someone to send it to. If the family spends all the money on themselves, they will really be struggling. How will they live in the future? Jiang Baige, who was only 16 years old before the Chinese New Year, secretly signed her name. She is at least a high school student, but her family can't even afford a few hundred yuan to find a job for her in the city. It's good to have this opportunity to become an educated youth. With one less person in the family, we can save some food and avoid having to borrow food for the Chinese New Year before the end of each year. Jiang's parents received the notice too late, and the assigned areas have already been arranged. They were reluctant in their hearts and had to help pack their luggage. The Jiang family was already poor, and all their money was only 20.3 yuan and 65 cents. Not a single penny was left at home, all of it was carried by Jiang Baige. Her mother also said that if she needs anything to go to the countryside, she can buy it herself and send it to her when her family has money. The family was reluctant to part, so they had to send Jiang Baige onto the train. Before getting on the car, Jiang Baige quietly took out 10 yuan and put it in her mother's pocket. She only left 13 yuan and 60.5 cents for herself. Anyway, she brought dry food to eat on the road. When she got there, the food relationship turned over, and she could receive this month's food without starving herself. She is also someone with a plan. I don't know what's going on in the north, but she hasn't spent a penny on the train these past 2 days. The food was also brought from home, and when it was too hard, she went to open water bubbles to eat. Fortunately, it's in February and the weather hasn't warmed up yet. If it were in the summer, her few dimples would have rotted long ago. At the beginning of the departure, there were many people on the train and it was very hot for a while. She took off her cotton jacket, which was already thin, and quickly coughed. After only 2 days of not eating well, Jiang Baige fell ill again. There was no medicine to buy on the train, and she had a fever for 2 consecutive days and persisted. The 2 girls around her didn't even notice that she was sick. There are so many people in the car, and no one knows when a little girl went. It would be a great deal to get a discount on Jiang Baige, who came from later generations. Chapter 2. Space. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Jiang Baige went through all these memories of the original owner in her mind, and her heart inexplicably became restless. Time travel, time travel. Why did you wear it in 1967? Jiang Baige cursed inwardly, is this time traveling? This should be punishment. This roast and shouted in my heart, but I felt the wet clothes on my body were cold and uncomfortable. She suddenly sneezed, one cold and one hot, ah chio. Seeing Jiang Baige sneezing, Zhou Yangqing, who was sitting in the same seat, asked, Comrade Jiang, are you okay? Is a fever okay? No, let's go ask the train attendant and find some medicine to take. Jiang Baige thought of the current situation and forced out a smile, I'm fine. I just sweated a bit and now I'm a bit cold. Zhou Yangqing looked worried and said, this won't work. You better go and change your clothes quickly. Jiang Baige nodded and said, okay. She pulled out the original owner's bag from under the seat and took out a set of clothes from inside. After looking at this retro outfit, I felt uncomfortable kneading it into a lump and hugging it in my arms. She had seen clothes with a sense of time when she was exploring the Kanto region. Sorry, he said to the 2 girls next to him, could you please let me go out for a while? I'll go to the bathroom to change clothes. Zhou Yangqing asked, why don't we go with you? Jiang Baige shook her head and said, I can do it, thank you. Wang Fangfang, standing beside her, anxiously instructed, then worry a little bit, it's still burning. Don't fall later. Jiang Baige responded, I'll pay attention. As I spoke, I headed towards the bathroom. This train is already full, and there is still a lot of luggage in the aisle. Jiang Baige finally squeezed past, sweating profusely due to a fever, feeling cold all over her body, and feeling dizzy. Arriving at the entrance of the bathroom, I waited for a while before the people inside opened the door. After Jiang Baige entered, she quickly closed the door. At this moment, her stomach suddenly started singing empty city tricks, but fortunately she was in the bathroom and only she could hear the sound. When she just picked up her clothes, she saw a few miscellaneous grains in her bag. In my memory, her mother made 15 for her, and she has been away from home for 2 days. It seems that there should be 11 or 12 more inside. It has to be said that the original owner was also stubborn. She had money and tickets on her body, but she persisted in not buying some hot food until she lost her life in the end. It's not cost-effective, it's too uneconomical. Jiang Baige chuckled foolishly and shook her head. Is this girl foolish? There is a mirror in the bathroom, and Jiang Baige is curious about her current face. I used to look pretty, but I still managed to get by. I don't know if I'll look any better after traveling through it. When she first watched a movie, she envied those fair-skinned, beautiful, and long-legged little sisters. If she also had that kind of appearance, even if she had to endure some hardships, how difficult would it be? She is willing. I am a specially trained person who was thrown into the desert for 3 days and 3 nights without starving to death. What's so difficult here? Thinking of these, she looked into the mirror. Seeing the face reflected in the mirror, I was instantly surprised. The girl inside was also quite good-looking. Jiang Baige murmured to herself, isn't this girl just me? I'll go, exclaimed in surprise. The girl in the mirror said, a pair of water-like big eyes can see a person's heart at a glance. A pair of curved eyebrows, thin and dense, with simple embellishments, should look very nice. With a straight nose and this petal lip, she is definitely a beautiful woman. Jiang Baige frowned and smiled, and the girl in the mirror also curved her cherry lips. Jiang Baige laughed foolishly. With such a beautiful body, why did she just give herself a free price? Feeling proud, she suddenly felt dizzy and fell forward, hitting her head on the basin before fainting. When she felt it again, her body felt so cold, even the air sucked into her nose was cold, and wherever she could touch it, it was icy cold. I thought to myself, was I frozen? It's hard not to be in the funeral home. Her eyelids twitched, and she opened them. Originally, she wasn't at the funeral home, but she returned to the supermarket where she was killed in the explosion. With some confusion, he said, didn't I just travel through time? Why did I come back? Jiang Baige couldn't distinguish whether it was reality or a dream for a moment, so why did she return to this supermarket? I remember that man detonated the bomb at the entrance of the supermarket, but why does it seem like nothing has happened here? It seemed like something was missing again, and Jiang Baige stood up from the ground in a daze. After a while, she finally discovered the problem, and it seemed like she was the only one in the entire supermarket. Jiang Baige has also read several travel novels, and many of them are lucky enough to receive golden fingers or space after traveling. I thought it was just a novel, but I didn't expect it to be my turn. She was killed in the explosion here, so it's reasonable to compensate herself with this supermarket as compensation. Grunting, my stomach started screaming again. If this is a space, then she can eat anything she wants. Touching my stomach was empty and burning. The original owner has been sick these past 2 days and has not even seen a drop of oil or water. If she falls down later, she doesn't know where she will wear it. If she just dies like this, wouldn't it be too embarrassing? There is a supermarket, if you don't eat enough quickly, it's foolish. Jiang Baige quickly found the food area, unsure if there was a place to cook in the space, but she couldn't wait. I saw a refrigerator full of ham and sausages. What bacon, sausages, ham sausages, everything you need. Just reach out and take out a big red sausage from inside. You can eat it as soon as you open it. Tear open the packaging and eat in big gulps. Although she was very hungry, she still chewed and swallowed slowly. My stomach is already not good, and if I can't digest it, it's not easy to buy medicine on this train. She knew that this supermarket usually doesn't sell medicine, so she didn't look for it either. Looking at the rows of shelves, she felt fortunate again that this was a supermarket. She used to dream of opening a store, but now she easily owns it. She was eating red sausages, shuttling between the shelves, walking slowly and leisurely, taking small bites of food. At this moment, her expression and movements were not the same as before. The original owner was originally a gentle person, and he ate slowly and leisurely. Jiang Baige felt her movements and was still a bit uncomfortable. She needs to change her gentle nature in the future. With this personality, if you go to the countryside, if you encounter a strong person, you won't be bullied to death. With this thought, she arrived at the place selling fresh milk again. When she saw the milk in the refrigerator, she felt that her mouth was dry and there was no smell. Pick up a bag of milk and take a small bite on the packaging bag, then slowly and leisurely drink the milk. After drinking one bag, I still feel not enough and very thirsty. I picked up another bag and after drinking it, I felt my stomach was a bit full and even hiccuped. After eating and drinking enough, Jiang Baige began to patrol his territory and looked at the rows of shelves, feeling very happy. The huge supermarket in front of me didn't die in vain. God should have seen her die pitifully and compensated her with some space. Once she accepted this setting, she felt that it was quite reasonable. Just as I was happy, I heard someone shouting at me, as if it was still Wang Fangfang's voice. What should we do? She hasn't figured out how to operate the space yet. Jiang Baige anxiously searched everywhere for an exit, but couldn't find where to get out. She shouted, "Where is the door? Let me out quickly." In an instant, she appeared in the bathroom. Outside the door, this is Wang Fangfang knocking on the door. "Comrade Jiang, have you changed your clothes yet? Have you fainted inside?" Jiang Baige agreed and said, "Hey, I'm fine. I'll come out right away." As he spoke, he quickly changed into his clothes before gently opening the door. Wang Fangfang said, "Seeing that you haven't come out for so long, I thought you fainted again, so I came to take a look." As she spoke, she looked up and saw a red patch on Jiang Baige's forehead. Urgently asked, "What's wrong with your forehead?" She didn't ask, but Jiang Baige forgot that she had fainted just now. I raised my hand and touched it, feeling a bit painful. I hit it just now. It's okay, let's go back." Wang Fangfang listened to her gentle voice and scolded, "You haven't eaten anything these past 2 days, did you faint just now?" Jiang Baige nodded and said, "It's okay now." As they spoke, the two of them returned to their seats. Wang Fangfang opened the aluminum lunch box on the small table, which contained a bun, an egg, and half a box of porridge. It was placed in front of Jiang Baige. With a hint of blame, he said, "You haven't been cooking hot food these past few days either. If this continues, your body will definitely not be able to handle it. I've cooked a bit too much, so I've divided some for you. Eat some now." She was afraid that Jiang Baige wouldn't want to spend money, so she beat more and ate half herself, leaving half for Jiang Baige. He said again, "Don't worry, what I take out to eat is clean." Jiang Baige smiled gratefully at her and said, "Thank you. I'll give you the money and food tickets later." Zhou Yangqing stuffed buns into his mouth and muttered, "It never happens to me that I don't eat because I save money. I have 5 siblings in my family, and we always eat by grabbing." Jiang Baige brushed aside Zhou Yangqing's almost eaten hair and forced a smile, saying, "It's great to meet you two friends." Zhou Yangqing and Wang Fangfang were 2 people she met while boarding a train on the Shanghai Stock Exchange. They were from the same place and were of similar age, so they were also very talkative. Since she had helped to fight back, she also picked up the steamed buns in front of her and started eating them. Although she had eaten some just now, they were all cold and uncomfortable in her stomach. The train clattered and clattered like a lullaby, and the 3 of them were somewhat motion sick. After finishing their meal and talking, they fell asleep on the small table again. When I opened my eyes, it was already the next morning. There are already many people chatting and laughing in the hallway, carrying lunch boxes to make breakfast. Zhou Yangqing woke up long ago, reading a book on the side, but he didn't wake up Jiang Baige and Wang Fangfang who were sleeping soundly. Jiang Baige woke up and asked happily, "Baige, let's go have a meal together." Before yesterday, they had been calling her comrade Jiang. After hearing that Jiang Baige treated her as a friend, they changed their name to Baige. Wang Fangfang also woke up this time, thinking that she would be late and unable to find anything delicious. She picked up her lunchbox first. "Comrade Jiang, let's go. Let's go have a meal together." Jiang Baige felt that she still had little strength. Although she had a big treasure room, there was everything in it, but there was no hot congee to drink. She took out her lunch box from under her seat and whispered softly, "Let's go." Upon hearing her own voice, Jiang Baige said to herself, "I have to say, the original owner's voice is really like a kitten, it sounds very pleasant." Chapter 3. Division of Production Teams. You are listening at novelfull.audio. 3 people, without going to wash up, went to the dining car together first. The rice is still the same, mantou, steamed stuffed buns, pickles and porridge. Congee is thin and transparent, and there are no grains of rice in it. Jiang Baige roast in his heart, fortunately, there is no ticket for congee, otherwise no one will buy it. Egg fried pickled vegetables, there aren't many eggs, all pickled vegetables, and such a portion costs 80 cents. This kind of pickled vegetable is similar to robbing someone. Mantou are dry food. They are also on the train. 1 mantou costs 30 cents, and 2 will cost 1 or 2 food stamps, but mantou are quite large. Looking at the mantou, Jiang Baige felt that he could not finish one meal. Salted vegetables without scrambled eggs, 20 cents per serving. Jiang Baige sighed at the prices of this era. If these prices were in the era he lived in, 100 yuan would probably take up to half a year. She had only 13.60.5 cents on her body. After a lunch box of congee and a mantou, she had only 13.50.5 cents left. Looking at the small amount of money in hand, my mother sold it in her heart. I saved a few million in my bank account by frugality, but before I could spend the money, I was already dead and perked up. Now, for a few cents, we still have to calculate some expenses. In an instant, her mood improved again. Fortunately, she still had space in her hands, otherwise she would have jumped off the train and died on it. Zhou Yangqing and Wang Fangfang don't know how their family conditions are either. The 2 of them took mantou, porridge, and fried pickles with eggs. They spent more than 1 yuan each for this meal. After finishing the meal, the 3 of them returned to their own positions. When Jiang Baige came back, he went to the bathroom to wash his hands. Looking at the congee in front of him, he thought it would be nice if there was a salted duck egg with congee. Suddenly, a salted duck egg appeared on his hand. She looked at the salted duck egg in her hands in shock, wondering. Is it difficult for her not to enter the space? As long as she thinks about something, the things in this space will automatically appear in her hands. Thinking of this, she wanted 2 more salted duck egg, so she had 2 more. She didn't expect the space operation to be so simple. As long as her mind moved, the item would appear in her hand. Jiang Baige was so excited that she wanted to scream and quickly covered her mouth. She's really afraid of being too happy, others might think she's crazy. I've heard before that some people get dizzy when they ride in a car, and then jump off the train. After calming down, she tore open the plastic bag and threw it out of the window before leaving the bathroom. When Jiang Baige returned, Wang Fangfang and Zhou Yangqing had already started eating. Wang Fangfang saw the pickled vegetables in Jiang Baige's lunch box and picked some eggs for her in her own lunch box. The pickled vegetables I made contain a lot of eggs. Can you pick some from me and let's eat together? Zhou Yangqing swallowed the mantou in his mouth. Well, comrade White Pigeon, I have many here. Jiang Baige smiled and took out 3 salted duck egg from his pocket. I brought them from home, 1 for each of us. It's too salty. You should eat less. Wang Fangfang shook her head in surprise and said, "We can't take this. We don't know what's going on in the countryside yet. You can keep it for yourself and take it out to eat when you get there." Jiang Baige didn't want them to agree, so she stuffed one into each person's hand. "You see, it's all broken, hurry up and eat it," he warned when she came back. She left an eye on salted duck egg. "I really admire myself now, I am simply too smart." Zhou Yangqing whimpered, "Thank you, comrade White Pigeon. Let me give you a mantou." Seeing Wang Fangfang looking embarrassed, Zhou Yangqing used his arm to turn her around. "Oh my! Fangfang, we are friends. If you have something delicious, just give comrade Baige some." Wang Fangfang nodded after listening, and the three of them began to eat. Someone in the front seat heard that they had salted duck egg. He turned around and asked softly, "Comrade, do you sell salted duck egg?" Jiang Baige shook her head and said, "This is what my family brought me, it's not for sale." The person saw that the girl was unwilling, so he sat back. Jiang Baige is not unwilling to sell, she has space and is itching to make money. If we were to do business now, it would be a speculative behavior. If she's reported, then she's still good. She thought to herself, "I'm not stupid, why should I sell it to you here?" After another day and night of train travel, the land outside the car window becomes barren, with endless expanses of land and scattered villages in the distance. The snow on the roadside is not even a foot high. Looking up at the snow-capped mountains in the distance, the snow is pure and the blue sky is like clear water. The white dove sighs. At this time, the environment has not been polluted by industry. The sky is so blue, and there is still a hint of sweetness in the air. It's really nice. Someone inside the carriage said, "Look outside, we're almost there." Someone said it was almost here, and then everyone looked out the car window. Wang Fangfang and Zhou Yangqing on the side have started to worry. Zhou Yangqing looked expectant and said, "I really hope we can get a farm so that the three of us can be together." They are all divided into one town, with more than 10 brigades and dozens of village groups. They don't know which village to divide it into. Upon hearing her words, the three of them fell silent as they were about to reach their destination. Wang Fangfang also looked worried and said, "This is my first time going out alone. Fortunately, I met you on the way, and I don't want to be separated from you." Jiang Baige had no friends in his previous life, only a few companions in the organization. Worth dying, she never became friends with them. "I finally met two girls who matched personalities here, and she didn't want to part ways. But she didn't say anything and didn't want to add trouble to them." The people in the car were already restless, each organizing and inspecting their own belongings. There was a lot of noise in the carriage, and the train whined repeatedly. The horn in the carriage also sounded along with it. The train slowly stopped on the platform and looked out the window. This doesn't seem like a train station, the only place to get off is a small house on muddy ground. Fortunately, it's not a rainy day, otherwise the ground would be covered in mud. Someone poked their head out the window and said, "Hey, everyone, look. Those carriages and ox carts are all here to pick us up, right?" The educated youth are all young people in their teens and 20s, curious about everything and with clear eyes. Several ox carts and carriages were parked not far away, sent by cadres from various villages to pick up rural educated youth. At this moment, someone on the train was walking with a loudspeaker and shouting, "Comrades from carriage 07, your destination has arrived, everyone get off." Jiang Baige and 3 others followed in the crowd, moving towards the direction of the car door. Jiang Baige really doesn't understand why these people have to squeeze around when they all have to get off the car, but she herself is also squeezed in the middle of the crowd. At this moment, someone shouted, "Why are you squeezing me? I've stepped on my shoes." "Oh my! Don't squeeze, my bag." The carriage was noisy, and Jiang Baige and the others finally squeezed out of the car. The educated youth got off the car and had already lined up several lines. On the platform, someone was shouting with a loudspeaker, "Comrades, comrades, warmly welcome your arrival. Thank you for your sacrifice and dedication for the construction of our motherland. In order to welcome you, the leaders of each village have also prepared ox carts to pick you up. Now, hurry up and find the leaders who cut in line. Let's go back earlier." 2 big bags were weighing on a little girl named Zhou Yangqing, making it difficult to walk. And in her hand, she also carried a net pocket for holding a basin and a thermos. Jiang Baige is really afraid that she might accidentally fall and smash all these things. She carried less luggage, although she also had 2 bags, they were not heavy, and now she can still free up her hands. Taking the net bag from Zhou Yangqing's hand, "I'll help you." Zhou Yangqing was panting heavily and said thank you several times in a row. "Oh my! I'm exhausted, thank you, thank you." "It's okay, just keep an eye on the road." Jiang Baige asked Wang Fangfang, who was following behind, and saw that she was also carrying 2 large bags. "Can you move it? Can I help you with it?" Wang Fangfang saw that Jiang Baige had already taken a lot of things and quickly shook her head. "I'm okay, let's go," she said. 3 people followed each production team and asked. There were 6 production teams here, each with 1 or 2 ox carts. In the second team, Wang Fangfang and Zhou Yangqing saw their names. They were divided together and went to the Xiaohiku production team. Wang Fangfang asked the village chief who came to pick her up, "Village chief, are you taking a look? Is there Jiang Baige's name on the list?" The village chief looked at the list in his hand again and said, "Comrade, I've said it all, no, why don't you take a look at it yourself?" Chapter 4. Arriving at the destination. You are listening at novelfull.audio. After reading it several times, it was true that Jiang Baige's name was not on the list. The 3 girls looked at it again with their heads squeezed together. Zhou Yangqing said anxiously, "There really isn't." At this point, someone was already urging, "Everyone is here, let's go. It won't be easy to leave in the dark." Zhou Yangqing said, "What should we do? Why don't we ask the village chief and see if we can exchange the white dove for us?" Jiang Baige originally thought that she had only known friends for a few days, so she couldn't talk about how deep her feelings were. However, seeing that she was about to part ways, she really couldn't bear to part ways. So the 3 of them went together to find the village chief of Xiaohiku village. At this moment, the village chief called out to the educated youth on his side and quickly put their luggage on the carriage, as they were about to depart. The 3 girls are still together, and they haven't put anything in the car. Wang Fangfang asked, "Village chief, can we discuss something?" The village chief has the surname Wang and looks like he is 50 or 60 years old. The chevron pattern on his forehead makes him look as if he is not very easy-going. The village chief asked, "What can I do for you?" Zhou Yangqing was overjoyed and said, "That's it." She took Jiang Baige 1 step forward and said, "The 3 of us came together. I want to ask if it's possible to exchange her for our team." After hearing this, the village chief became impatient and said, "I said you comrades from the city. You're just too young. Do you think that if you want to change, you can just follow your ideas? It's easy to say, but it's just a mess. Besides, wherever you go, it's all assigned by superiors, and none of us can be the masters." Wang Fangfang asked, "Is there really no other way?" Jiang Baige also wanted to fight for it, but was interrupted before she could speak. The village chief said, "Our people are all here. We will set off immediately. You 2 can't leave, there's no place for you to stay near here." Seeing this, the 3 of them had to bid farewell reluctantly. Jiang Baige comforted them and said, "I know where you are. When I have time, I can write to you." Wang Fangfang had already climbed onto the carriage and waved at her. "White Pigeon, let's go now. You need to take good care of yourself." They were reluctant to part, and the village chief was urging them again, "Have you all come up yet?" Jiang Baige said, "All right, you guys go quickly. We're leaving. Wang Fangfang and Zhou Yangqing waved their hands. Jiang Baige waved goodbye to them, and the team on the left had just asked, but they didn't have their own names. A few villages have already started to leave, so there are only the last 2 villages left. When Jiang Baige asked one by one and arrived at the ox cart, there were not many people here, and there was only one ox cart here. Red Flag Production Team, Chen Difu, the village chief of Qinjia village, just called the roll and realized that they still have one missing. Seeing that there were not many people at the station, he was in a hurry and went to find someone. Chen Difu, a person in his 50s, was so anxious that he was sweating profusely. If someone is really lost, none of them can bear this responsibility. On the platform, Chen Difu shouted, "Comrade Jiang, who is Comrade Jiang Baige?" After shouting for a while but no one answered, I had to search all the way back and ask if there were any wrong people in other villages. When he returned, he found that everyone had arrived again, which made him angry and his words didn't show any respect. Seeing this female comrade whom I haven't seen just now, I politely asked. "You are Comrade Jiang Baige, right?" Jiang Baige nodded lightly and said, Seeing her in such a hurry, it seemed that she had just gone to find her, and she awkwardly lowered her head. The people on the cart were all looking at her, and Jiang Baige whispered, "I'm sorry, I'm late." Chen Difu looked serious and said, "Do you know that so many people are waiting for you? Look, it's almost dark, it's taking up a lot of time." Jiang Baige's head lowered again, leaving a bad impression on the first day. What should be done in the future? A long, chubby girl on the cart also said, "Yes. We're all frozen to death, there's really no organizational discipline. There are 2 male comrades above, but they haven't spoken yet. Their eyes are looking left and right. I thought to myself, we shouldn't be that outstanding bird. When we live in the same courtyard, they won't do anything that offends people." The other girl tugged at the sleeve of the chubby black girl who had just spoken, asking her to speak less. At this moment, Chen Difu finally came to a close and said, all right, this is everyone's first time here, and it's normal to delay some time in unfamiliar places. It's just getting dark, I'm afraid you comrades from the city won't be able to walk on the night road, and it'll be too late to return to the village later." Chen Difu saw Jiang Baige still carrying luggage standing there and said, "You 2 male comrades help Comrade Jiang put his luggage up and put it away." The 2 male comrades finally realized, "Oh, okay, Comrade Jiang, give us your bags." Jiang Baige quickly handed the 2 bags to the person on the cart and said, "Thank you, comrades." Chen Difu said again, "All right, come up quickly. We're going to set off." Jiang Baige whispered her gratitude again. "Thank you." Then she climbed onto the ox cart. Chen Difu's whip rang and he said, "Sit still. We're off." The ox cart slowly started moving, and the chubby black girl beside her looked very disdainful, giving Jiang Baige a white glance sitting next to her. Jiang Baige also saw her gaze, but she didn't care. The weather is very dry and cold, and Jiang Baige wears a big scarf around her head, revealing only a pair of eyes outside. The scarf was taken out by her from the space, and the grey woolen scarf wrapped around her head and whole. Although I can't see my face clearly, those watery eyes are still very beautiful. These educated youth have gone through extensive scrutiny and confirmed that their family composition and political stance are not a problem, before they are assigned to production teams or construction corps to receive further education from poor and lower middle peasants. As long as they become the educated youth who cut through the queue and no longer want to become farmers, they also become farmers. From the moment they pass the review, this is a reflection of their life for a long time to come. Jiang Baige thought of the life of educated youth she had seen on TV, but the dark and chubby girl beside her now had a strange look in her eyes, and she didn't care at all. The beautiful face hidden in the scarf revealed a faint smile, and the life of educated youth was not much more comfortable than that of local farmers. Relatively speaking, it's even harder than them. She's so arrogant now, and in a few days, she'll feel like crying. If they don't have a house to live in this time, they will have to go through all the skills of building their own house, picking sand, digging soil, digging adobe, and building a house. As for farming, it is a survival skill that every educated youth must learn, even proficient in farming, fertilization, sowing, and harvesting. No matter how proud these knowledgeable young people are now, they will be given a good beating in their future lives to wake them up. Jiang Baige was sandwiched between several people, wanting to change her sitting position, but the space was too small and she couldn't move. The ox cart swayed, and Jiang Baige began to feel dizzy again. She also felt dizzy while riding the ox cart, and she was also convinced. She walked down for a while midway, finally catching her breath. As soon as she got on the ox cart, it was so bumpy that it shook her heart, liver, and lungs. The journey was indescribable. Jiang Baige had to curl her neck and lay on top of her backpack, feeling drowsy in no time. The ox cart was shaking, but she fell asleep. By the time someone woke her up, it was already completely dark. "Hey! Wake up, get off the car." Jiang Baige opened her eyes and felt a momentary daze, then shook her head before waking up. By the light of the torch, the entrance is a very dilapidated courtyard, and the lock hanging on the courtyard door is still new. Zhang Hongyang knew that there were educated youth coming today, and the two educated youth in their courtyard had not slept yet at night, waiting for these new educated youth. Jiang Baige saw a male comrade helping to pick up things and quickly thanked him. "Thank you, comrade." She was still holding a bundle in her hand and said, "Can you help me pick up this luggage as well? My legs are numb." After speaking, I lowered my head awkwardly. Chapter 5. Educated Youth Courtyard. You are listening at novelfull.audio. The female comrade took the initiative to ask for his help. Zhang Hongyang looked up at her and nodded, "Give it to me." Heart said, "This little educated youth looks very young and doesn't know if he's over 16 years old. Speaking like a kitten, I'm afraid I made a mistake." He thought and helped carry his luggage into the hospital. Jiang Baige jumped off the ox cart and followed into the yard. She's not in a hurry to see where she's sleeping, anyway, she's all there. Being too anxious can be annoying. Chen Difu delivered the people and handed them over to the old educated youth. "Comrade Zhang, they'll leave it to you. It's late tonight, so hurry up and wash up and go to bed," he said. Zhang Hongyang replied, "Don't worry, village chief. I will settle them down." Chen Difu had always been optimistic about this Zhang Jiqing, so he naturally trusted him and hastily said a few words before rushing away with a cart. Jiang Baige followed behind a few people, listening to the female comrade speaking ahead. The speaker is Li Yan, an old educated youth who has been here for 2 years. Li Yan said, "There are 3 rooms in this courtyard. The room to the east is the girls' dormitory, and the main room is the kitchen. Dining is also here. The room to the west is a male dormitory, and the toilet needs to go out through the gate. Turn left and follow the courtyard wall to see it." After speaking, he asked, "Do you have anything to ask?" "You can ask now." Wu Lily first spoke up. Wu Lily is the chubby black girl, and there is a reason why she is overweight. The first question is, what should we do for dinner tomorrow? Zhang Hongyang continued, "We used to cook and eat together, and you could take out the food and cook it together. If you are willing, it will continue like this in the future." Wu Wan asked, "We just arrived, what if we don't have enough food yet?" This issue is of utmost importance. They all have no food with them and will not have any food to eat tomorrow morning. The 2 old educated youth exchanged a glance and received a positive look from Zhang Hongyang. Li Yan then spoke up, "You can borrow grain from us first, but we don't have enough grain right now. If you receive grain, please return it to us in a timely manner." Since the educated youth are willing to lend them food, a few people are busy thanking, "Thank you, we will definitely repay it in time." A few new educated youth looked dusty, and each person carried a burden that looked like a walking small earthen mound. Li Yan said to them, "It's already very late today, so let's not delay everyone's rest. If there's anything we don't understand, we'll think of asking again. We still have to work tomorrow, so let's rest early." There were originally 4 educated youth in Qinjia village, and 2 of them got married and moved out. Now there is only 1 male comrade left in the educated youth program, Shanggong. A female comrade, Li Yan. Li Yan and the others knew they were coming to the new educated youth, and they cleaned the courtyard of the educated youth again yesterday. Although the house is a thatched cottage, the walls are made of mud. People have lived inside before, and the walls are covered with old newspapers. The bed is made of several wooden boards, and there is already a layer of straw on top of the bed. It is very cold and there is not much moisture. 3 female educated youth followed Li Yan into the girls' dormitory, and Wu Lily first placed her bags in the middle of the bed. Wu Wan naturally wanted to sleep with this cousin, so she got into the bed next to Wu Lily. In the end, there was no one to sleep here by the door. Jiang Baige walked in and took a look at the large bunk, so she had to put her bundle on the empty space. Jiang Baige spread the old bedsheet that wrapped the blanket on the straw, and then spread the blanket and mattress on top of it. Even in the middle of the night, she didn't know where to find hot water, but luckily there was still a little bit in her kettle. "I forgot to pour out the hot water I received on the train, and there isn't much temperature left by now." She poured it out and washed her face briefly before getting into bed. The quilt and mattress were both used by the original owner before. Although the original owner's mother had washed them clean and baked them again, there was still a unique milk fragrance of a young girl. Smelling this smell made me feel very comfortable. Jiang Baige was also very tired and fell asleep. But others were not so happy. Wu Lily and her sisters slept in the middle, but they thought the bed was too crowded. Wu Lily is very unhappy. How can she sleep in such a small bed? She is overweight and feels like it's difficult to turn over. After whispering for a long time, the 2 sisters fell asleep. Her cousin Wu Wan couldn't bear her cousin's behavior and didn't say much. After all, she was her aunt's old daughter. She doesn't help, but she doesn't intend to get used to her either. "Coming here is not easy for me, how can I help her? This is the precious daughter of the family, and no one is used to you when you go out. I haven't slept well for several days," and Wu Wan also made the bed and went to bed. The whole night, everyone slept soundly. The cold wind blowing outside did not affect their beautiful sleep. As soon as it was light outside and there was a faint glow inside, Jiang Baige quickly got up from the bed. Seeing that the seat next to her was already empty, the old educated youth got up earlier than her. "Put on a cotton jacket neatly and comb your hair." In this era, no one raised their ponytails or meatballs. Jiang Baige combed 2 long braids, which hung down from both sides of her ears. She didn't wear a scarf anymore, and it's not convenient to wrap it around when cooking. The morning here is much colder than the Shanghai market, and she is dressed very thick, only revealing her small face the size of a palm. She went to the kitchen and saw Li Yan cooking. She felt embarrassed and said, "I got up late. What do you want to do? Just tell me." Li Yan was adding firewood. When she heard the sound, she looked up at her. "This female comrade looks pretty, but why does she look so small?" she thought to herself as her eyes lit up. She said, "There's nothing to do now. We've cooked hot water outside. You go wash up first." A few bottles of hot water have already been placed on the stone slab for washing clothes in the yard. Jiang Baige took her own hot water bottle, poured hot water to wash up, and the people in the educated youth courtyard also got up. I don't even know my name, but when I see it, I nod in response. Seeing everyone in the yard, Jiang Baige took the initiative to introduce herself. "Good morning. My name is Jiang Baige, what are your names?" Zhang Hongyan and the other 2 male educated youth were both stunned, their eyes fixed on her, and said, "Are you Jiang educated youth who just arrived last night?" Jiang Baige secretly poked her eyes in her heart, but she was obedient on her face. With a faint smile, he said, it was too cold last night, wrapped in a big scarf. Li Yan walked out of the kitchen and smiled, since we are all in the yard, why don't we introduce ourselves to each other? We'll have to ask later. The male educated youth on the side introduced himself first, my name is Liang Yue, I am 19 this year. This is the educated youth I am with, his name is Yu Xingli, and we are classmates. Zhang Hongyang also introduced himself, my name is Zhang Hongyang, and I am 23 years old this year. I should be the largest here. Wu Lily stared at them talking at the door, and everyone looked at her again. My surname is Wu, just call me Lily. This is my cousin Wu Wan, she is 20, and I am 19. She spoke with a smile on her face. Finally, Li Yan introduced herself and said, my name is Li Yan, and I am also 22 years old this year. As they spoke, the courtyard was bustling with activity when someone knocked on the door. Zhang Hongyang hurriedly went to open the door and saw that it was Chen village chief who came early in the morning. Chen Difu sent several educated youth this month's rations, carrying a burlap bag on his shoulder. Opening the door, he smiled and said, it's already so early to talk big. Come pick me up. Zhang Hongyang helped to continue and placed the burlap bag on the ground. Ask, village chief, what did you bring so early? Chen Difu took a breath before saying, this is their rations. When you have time, go to the village and grind them out yourself. The people in the yard are overjoyed when they hear about food, and they no longer have to worry about food. Several newcomers expressed their gratitude in unison, thank you, village chief. Wu Lily smiled and said, village chief, what are we going to do today? Her voice was sweet, and when she heard it in Jiang Baige's ears, she had goosebumps all over her body and even trembled for a moment. She also said that her voice sounded like a kitten, making it uncomfortable to listen to. After listening to Wu Lily's voice, she decided that she needed to change her voice quickly, otherwise she would feel nauseous and what to do with others. After hearing this, the several old men in the yard felt a chill in their hearts. Chen Difu pursed his lips and looked at her with a stern expression. He said, the snow hasn't melted much yet, and there isn't much activity in the fields. Our team doesn't have enough land, so we're all clearing up land now. Jiang Baige and the others listened attentively to the village chief's speech, but they had never heard of how to open up land. Seeing the new arrivals who seemed puzzled, he asked, do you know about land reclamation? It's about chopping trees, mowing grass, picking up stones, and turning wasteland into land for growing food. Recently, my main focus has been on this. After thinking for a moment, he said again, that's about it. You've just arrived, so if you don't understand, ask them more about the old educated youth. Chapter 6. First Meal. You are listening at novelfull.audio. As Chen Difu was about to leave, what came to his mind? By the way, if you don't have enough food to eat, just ask the old educated youth to borrow some first. Don't argue with me, you all know how to form a partnership. Just ask Zhang Jiqing and his team for specific details. And since you only arrived last night, take a good rest and don't have to work today. If you have nothing to do, you can wander around the village and become familiar with it. If you need anything, you can go to the supply and marketing cooperative to buy it. Take a day off today and start working tomorrow morning. After speaking, I thought for a moment and didn't think of anything else. Well, basically that's all. I'll go back first. After everything was explained, I turned around and left. The village chief walked slowly. Several educated youth politely watched as the village chief left. The Jiang white pigeons mentioned by the village chief just now are all boring to listen to. She has never done any agricultural work before. She has even seen what a hoe looks like on the online map. Wu Lily was overjoyed to hear that there was no need to work. Cousin, do you have anything you want to buy? The village chief said we can go to the supply and marketing cooperative to buy. Wu Wan has something she wants to buy, but she doesn't have the money to spend it either. The only 20 or so yuan in the bag, as a last resort, I dare not make any fuss. Shaking his head, he said, forget it, as long as it's useful now, I'll write a letter to my family and send it back as a peace of mind, so that my mother and her family can rest assured. Listening to her cousin say she wanted to write a letter, Wu Lili remembered that when she left home, her mother called to write a letter to her home. Then you don't need to write about me. Just tell my family about my situation together and let my mother know. She thought to herself, my cousin reported the safety of 2 people alone, which saved the money for sending letters easily. Thinking of this, Wu Lili secretly rejoiced that she was also too smart. Jiang Baige went to the kitchen and cooked with Li Yan. She has never been exposed to firewood for cooking, so she is learning hard now to avoid not knowing how to cook in the future. The breakfast is made of millet porridge. When Li Yan washed millet in the past, only a handful of them had half eaten. She and Zhang Hongyang already don't have much food, and they need to save some every month to send back to their families. She gritted her teeth and grabbed 2 more people who had emerged now. However, just now the village chief sent several educated youths rations, so she doesn't have to worry about not eating enough. Yu Xingli brought some of their food to the kitchen and asked with a smile, Comrade Li Yan, our rations are all here. Just take a look at how much we can eat for breakfast and make up your mind. Li Yan smiled and replied to him, these are all raw grains. How should we eat them before they are ground? Yu Xingli asked, what is raw grain? Jiang Baige has never heard of what raw food is, and seeing these new arrivals in the room doesn't seem to understand. Li Yan then said, the raw grain has not been ground yet. It cannot be cooked and eaten directly, otherwise it will clog my throat. Go and take a look at the rice in the rice jar. You need that kind of rice to eat. Zhang Hongyang walked in and said, just leave it here. Let's go grind it back together when we have time. Having food at home, Li Yan didn't panic. She simply added some water, grabbed another handful of rice from the bag, and added it to the pot. Jiang Baige added firewood to the stove, and the flames warmed her body and made her face blush. Just now, I heard Wu Wan say she wants to write a letter to her home outside. Jiang Baige was very conflicted and wondered whether she should also write a letter to report her safety to Zhang's father and mother. If you write it. I don't know what to write. If I don't write, after all, I have taken over the daughter's body, wouldn't it be too ruthless? She is still conflicted whether she should be responsible to her parents if she uses someone else's body now. She is still daydreaming, and the meal will be ready soon. After Li Yan finished cooking, she shouted, Brother Hongyang, Comrade Wu Lili, Comrade Wu Wan, and you 2 male comrades, have you taken the bowl yet? The food is ready. Wu Lili heard the call to eat and quickly went inside to get her lunchbox. Jiang Baige also took a lunchbox. She has 2 lunchboxes, one for eating and the other for serving soup. However, in this situation, she doesn't even have any oil flowers. The idea of drinking soup is too luxurious. She just smelled the taste of stir-fried pickled vegetables floating out of the pot, which emitted a bitter taste. Without tasting it, she could be certain that it was not delicious. She quietly took out a bag of pickled vegetables from the space while there was no one inside. When the pickled vegetables appeared in her hand, she was stunned. It was indeed pickled vegetables in the bag, but there was not a word on the packaging bag. The bag was also transparent, and the quality of the things inside was clear at a glance. Jiang Baige muttered, there is no place of origin, brand, barcode, date, or formula. This kind of packaging is the first time I've seen it. Is it because the space has been automatically erased? I didn't notice this a few days ago. Thinking of those dark pickled vegetables, forget it and eat it before we talk. She tore open the packaging bag, poured the pickled vegetables into the lunchbox, and threw the empty bag back into the space. I was just trying to see if it worked, but I didn't expect the space to be quite good. It can be taken out or placed inside the space. Jiang Baige hasn't had the time to study this space these days, just thinking that it's not too late to have time to ponder. She didn't know how many grams of a large packet of pickled vegetables were, but there was a small half box in the lunch box. She covered it and then went to the kitchen. At the dinner table, everyone was eating silently, and no one spoke, except the voice of drinking congee. Jiang Baige placed the lunch box on the table and casually opened the lunch box containing shredded pickled vegetables. "I brought this from home. It won't be long before I put it away. Why don't we share it and eat it together? It's a pity if it breaks down and gets thrown away." Then she went and filled a box of millet porridge. Li Yan glanced at the contents of the lunch box, thought for a moment, and used a spoon to scrape a little inside. After tasting it, he said, "Thank you, Comrade Jiang. This taste is my first time eating it, it's really delicious. If you like to eat, you can make more." Jiang Baige said to other people, "Comrade Jiang, Comrade Yu, Comrade Liang, and Comrade Wu, your sisters, please don't hesitate. Once this thing is opened, you must eat it quickly." Zhang Hongyang smiled and asked, "What's delicious?" Taking a closer look, he was pleasantly surprised and said, "This is big head vegetable. I saw my grandmother make it when I was a child, but I haven't seen this dish for many years." As he spoke, he also scooped some into the lunch box and put some in his mouth with a spoon, biting it crunchily. "Well, this is the taste my grandmother made." Jiang Baige thought to herself, "This dish can't be any grandmother's dish, can it? Or mother's dish?" Wu Wan also glanced at it, but she didn't bring anything to eat. If she had eaten someone else's, she might not have been able to eat it in the future, so she just took a look. Wu Lily didn't take a glance from beginning to end, thinking to herself, "It's not meat, it's good to show off your intentions to buy people's hearts." Li Yan took another sip and said, "You guys eat. Comrade Zhang's mother made this pickled vegetable, it's really delicious, much better than our bitter wheat vegetables." Li Yan thought that this delicious pickled vegetable was something that Jiang Baige, a little girl, couldn't make, so she automatically assumed it was made by Jiang Mu. Upon hearing her say, except for Wu Lily, everyone else shared some food. Wu Wan thought, if we don't have pickled vegetables in the future, we can't wait for the meat ticket to be issued. When we buy pork, we should eat less ourselves and give Comrade Jiang an extra 2 pieces. So she didn't have to bear to eat anymore. The taste was much better than the pickled vegetables on the table. Jiang Baige doesn't want to use this pickled vegetable to buy people's hearts, it's just that she doesn't want to eat that bitter pickled vegetable. I never thought that even a bag of pickled vegetables could be misinterpreted. Even if I knew, she wouldn't be angry. However, she can only eat such inconspicuous things in front of people, and from today on, she cannot take them out. Dishes that appear inexplicably will always arouse suspicion over time. If there were those narrow-minded people who thought she was just speculating, they might even report her. Chapter 7. Going to Supply and Marketing Cooperatives. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Living with so many people, Jiang Baige decided that if he became greedy, he would secretly eat. Meat is even less likely to be taken out for consumption, as there are things that come from an improper source these days, which will eventually lead to suspicion. Some people just can't see others living better than themselves, and if they envy themselves and report her, it's simply not worth the loss. Half a lunch box of pickled vegetables, one person can share a little and it's gone. Yu Xingli and his team believed that such delicious food might not be available in the future, and they cherished this hard-won delicacy even more. The remaining pickled vegetable soup was poured and mixed with rice to eat. After dinner, 2 old educated youth went to work as usual, while several new educated youth were discussing items to buy from the supply and marketing cooperative. Jiang Baige entered the house and wrote a letter to her family. Anyway, if it took up the body of the original owner, then the family of the original owner would become her own family. The cows in the village followed the villagers to work, so a few educated youth wanted to go to the town and had to walk on their legs. The Red Flag commune is more than 10 miles away from Qinjia village, and a few young people are walking and inquiring with the farmers on the roadside. And this road is bumpy and difficult to walk. Even if they walk fast, it took them over 3 hours to get there. This town is not big. As soon as they asked for information, they found the post office. A few people first went to the post office and prepared to send the letter before going shopping. Jiang Baige also experienced it once, buying envelopes, affixing stamps, and delivering, feeling quite novel. But it's quite expensive. It cost 80 cents just to send the letter. After leaving the post office, the group headed straight for the Supply and Marketing Cooperative. The Supply and Marketing Cooperative is very easy to find, but I haven't even inquired about it. The best two-story building in the town is because there are several big characters written on the wall, such as People's Labor Union. Wu Lily pulled Wu Wan straight to the Supply and Marketing Cooperative. When she left home, her mother gave her 50 yuan. Before, she used to ask her mother for 50 cents on everything she wanted to buy. If no one cares now and you still have money, then you have to decide what you want to buy. Wu Wan is scared to death. If she buys too much later and runs out of money, what can she do? Jiang Baige didn't have anything to buy and was not interested at all, so she leisurely strolled around in the back. Yu Xingli and Liang Yu brought a lot of things from home for their 2 male comrades, so they didn't have anything they needed, so the 3 of them were all waiting at the entrance of the Supply and Marketing Cooperative. Jiang Baige said to himself, those 2 sisters don't know how long it will take them to come out. It's cold to stand here in the cold wind. She wants to wander around without knowing how big the town is. Those things in the space, if they are exchanged for money in the future, even if the terrain is not familiar. Thinking of the dozen or so yuan in his pocket, Jiang Baige had an idea, which was to make money. She looked curious about this place and began to look around. To the 2 male comrades, he said, Comrade Yu Xingli, do you have anything you want to buy? If so, go ahead. I'll wait for them here. Yu Xingli came to the town today mainly to send letters to his family. Now that the letters have also been sent out, he has nothing to do. Yu Xingli shook his head and said, I don't need anything. Liang Yue also shook his head and said, Comrade Jiang, they have all gone to the Supply and Marketing Cooperative to buy things. Would you like to take a look too? She also waved her hand and said, I don't have anything to buy either. I just wanted to take a look. I don't know how long it will take to come to town next time. I want to go and see if it looks familiar, so I won't be like a headless fly in the future. Anyway, the town is not big, you can go and take a look. Yu Xingli thought, why don't you ask Comrade Liang Yue to come with you? If you're not familiar with the place here, just dress like this, and others will know you're from another city. It's not good for you, a lesbian, to walk around alone. Jiang Baige doesn't think she can't get away from things, but having a gay man together is much safer. Jiang Baige nodded in agreement and arranged to return to the entrance of the Supply and Marketing Cooperative at exactly 11 o'clock to gather. There are no small vendors selling on the street, it's very quiet. At this time, there were still state-owned and collective economies, so there would be no private businesses. The development of individual economy will take more than a decade, and then everyone will show their talents, and some people will soon become households worth tens of thousands of yuan. At this time, it is possible to buy and sell things, but it must be within the scope allowed by the policy. For example, if you have eggs at home and want to exchange them for money, you must sell them at the designated place of the cooperative. Everything is sold in the Supply and Marketing Cooperative, including food tickets, meat tickets, alcohol tickets, sugar tickets, cloth tickets, bicycle tickets, sewing tickets, tobacco tickets, soy sauce tickets, tofu tickets, fan tickets, and even feces and urine tickets. These tickets cover various aspects of life, including food, drink, and transportation. As long as you have a ticket, everything is fine. Besides a few grain tickets, Jiang Baige also has a few cloth tickets on her body. Jiang's mother was afraid that her clothes would wear out when she came here, so she brought all the family tickets with her. You know, these tickets, but they have been stored for 2 years. I originally wanted to wait until I had money, and the whole family made new clothes to wear, but I didn't expect them to use them all. Jiang Baige lowered her head and looked at her clothes, only then could she make them. The houses in this town are far from what Jiang Baige imagined. In my memory, the original owner had already lived in a blue brick and tile house. But the houses in this town are basically similar to those in the brigade, all of which are made of soil structure, and some are also covered with straw. Jiang Baige and Liang Yue walked to the end of the street, and no one could be seen anymore. The alley was even more empty. Jiang Baige smiled awkwardly and said, "There isn't much to see in this town either. Let's go back." Liang Yue also found it boring. This place is much worse than their city. No wonder, when he was about to leave, his mother repeatedly told him not to find a wife here. Now thinking about it, his mother's words make sense. Once she finds a poor daughter. Law, there will be more places to spend money in the future. Two people walked silently side by side on the street, and the people they occasionally met couldn't help but glance at them. The passerby thought to himself, these two young people may not be in contact with each other. They are brave enough and not afraid of being reported and affecting the atmosphere. Someone really said to the people around them, "This young man is the perfect match." It's really shameful. It's not important for a big girl to hang out with a man. Upon hearing someone's comments, Jiang Baige was very disgusted. I thought to myself, these days, when I see a man and a woman together, I talk about being a romantic partner. Where can I not be self-respecting? Is there really no other topic to talk about? The two quickly arrived at the entrance of the supply and marketing cooperative, where Wu Lili, Wu Yuan, and Yu Xingli were already waiting. When they returned, Wu Yuan asked, "Is this town big or not?" Jiang Baige shook her head and said, "It's not big, and there isn't much to look at either." Wu Lili looked disdainful and said, "Where can the countryside get so big? Let's go, hurry back. I'm exhausted." The group turned back the same way and arrived at the entrance of the state-owned restaurant. Wu Lili said again, "Why don't we have lunch and then go back?" Wu Yuan was in a difficult situation. As soon as her cousin went out, she wanted to buy everything she saw, but with so many people together, how could it be easy to eat? She tugged at Wu Lili's sleeve and said, "Lily, let's go back quickly. Eating here will cost a lot of money." Wu Lili became stubborn and used to it. "I have to walk so far back. Who can still walk when I'm hungry?" Several people blocked the entrance of the state-owned hotel. Jiang Baige asked the two male comrades, "What do you think of Comrade Wu Lili's opinion? She doesn't want to eat too much, but she always asks for others' opinions." Yu Xingli and Liang Yue exchanged a glance and thought to themselves, "It's just a meal, it shouldn't cost much money." He nodded and said, "Okay, let's eat and go back. With so many people, it's impossible for anyone to treat." Jiang Baige said again, "Let's do this. Let's eat our own food." The two of Yu Xingli nodded in agreement, and of course they agreed with this idea. Otherwise, even if they bring female comrades to eat, they cannot make them pay. It doesn't matter if it's 3 or 2 yuan. If it's too much, no one can afford it. Upon hearing these words, Wu Wan's heart sank to the ground. She is really afraid of this cousin catching demons. With so many people eating, she should not have enough money by then. She no longer has the money to squander, and now that she has heard that she is eating her own, she has just relaxed. "All right then. After eating, I'll go back," he whispered. The group walked into the state-owned restaurant. At this time, it was lunchtime, but there was no one to eat in the lobby. There was a dozing lady sitting behind the counter. Upon hearing footsteps, the elder sister opened her eyes. "What do you comrades eat?" asked enthusiastically. Yu Xingli asked, "Sister, what else is there to eat now?" Big sister glanced at them and saw that they were all dressed neatly, not like they couldn't afford it. Then he said, there are fried vegetables, rice, noodles, pimple soup, steamed buns and mantou. What do you want to eat? Chapter 8. High Prices. You are listening at Novel Full. Audio. Jiang Baige was quite interested in stir-frying after hearing the elder sister say this long string. She has been here for a few days and hasn't had a good meal. The elder sister said again, I didn't say everything. Take a look at the signs hanging here, there are all those on top. After listening to the elder sister's words, several educated youth finally saw a sign hanging on the wall. 3 cents on rice, 1 or 2 grain coupons. Yu Xingli asked, Sister, is this rice meant to be full? The older sister looked at him like a monster and said, What are you thinking? Each person is limited to 2 bowls. Upon hearing the elder sister's words, several people had a scale in their hearts. Meat costs 5 yuan per share, 2 liang meat tickets. Well, they skipped over at the same time, and a meal of meat costs 5 yuan, as well as meat tickets. With this money, it's enough for them to buy a lot of food. Fried eggs also cost 2 yuan, and 1 egg ticket. A bowl of noodles costs 7 yuan and 2 liang of grain coupons. Looking down from top to bottom, several people looked bewildered. They all thought to themselves, this is not a food seller, it's better to snatch it openly. Jiang Baige touched the money in her pocket and put it back. She didn't want anything, so why spend that money here? And since there wasn't much money in the beginning, when she finished spending it and couldn't get the money, she had nowhere to cry. Wu Lily was instantly dumbfounded when she saw how expensive the food in the state-owned restaurant was. She was so eager to try anything just now, but now she looks at what's written on it, but she doesn't dare to order anything. Wu Wan's money has just been spent several yuan in the supply and marketing society, and I don't know when my family will send her the money. She stopped talking and waited for others to take the lead in asking. It doesn't matter whether the 2 male comrades eat or not. Anyway, their men have strength and it's not too late to walk back and cook lunch. They're all quiet, just here. Look at me, I'll see what you're doing. Jiang Baige asked, Sister, are there any dishes here that don't require tickets? We just arrived here and didn't even bring tickets with us. Walking back to the village is a bit far, so we just want to simply fill our stomachs. Upon hearing her words, several companions behind her also nodded. The older sister thought for a moment and said, Let's do it this way. With bone soup and buckwheat bread, it costs 50 cents per person, no tickets. After hearing this, everyone's faces lit up with joy and they said, Thank you, big sister. You're such a nice person. Anyway, praising others for not asking for money, and everyone expressed gratitude in unison. At the dinner table, there was a whirring sound of hot soup and meat soup, and my heart was also happy. Jiang Baige took the first bite of the steamed bun and tasted that it was a bit sour. She looked up at the elder sister and thought to herself, look at her kind eyebrows and good intentions. It turns out she's not a good person either. I don't know how long this steamed bun has been made, but it's still being sold for our money. She swore never to come again. She grabbed the steamed bun in her hand and didn't eat it. She actually drank the bowl of soup, but the taste was very light. I don't know how many times it was boiled with water, and there was no oil or flour on the soup, only a little salt flavor. While no one was paying attention, she secretly put the steamed buns in her pocket and planned to throw them away on the way back. After those young people had eaten their fill and left, the elder sister looked at the distant figures behind. Murmured, These steamed buns have been steamed for a month, and today they finally sell out. A few people returned to the village all the way, and it was already past 3 p.m. when they arrived at the educated youth courtyard. Jiang Baige took out 2 Swiss rolls from the space while going to the bathroom, and ate them in a few bites. They went to town, walked back, all exhausted. They simply packed up and went back to their houses to rest. When it was time to get off work and hear the honking of the village horn, the people in the courtyard actually got up to cook. Among them, only Wu Wan and Wu Lily sisters can cook. I can't help anyone who doesn't know, so I have to clean up and do what I can. Jiang Baige quietly added firewood to the stove, and she knew how to do it. I come from later generations and I can understand why I don't know, after all, I burn natural gas. But the original owner doesn't know either, she's really a bit speechless. In my memory, the original owner not only studied but also learned, and was overindulged by Jiang's father and mother. Burning a fire is the easiest and simplest thing to do, and sometimes you can even take a break. Jiang Baige had something in her heart, and the thought of living with so many people made her feel very constrained. She can't eat even if she has food, and she doesn't have any money on her body. She just wants to find a way to make money quickly. Thinking too much, I unconsciously sigh. Ah. Wu Wan was washing rice when she heard Jiang Baige sigh. Ask, Comrade Jiang, what's wrong with you? Upon hearing Wu Wan's question, Jiang Baige suddenly regained her senses. It's nothing, it's just that I'm a bit tired from walking today. Wu Wan nodded empathetically and said, it's really too far to go to town. If there's no ox cart in the future, I won't go anymore. Jiang Baige also thinks so, but she has several brand new bicycles in her space, all of which are Phoenix brand, with styles similar to those of this era. If you take it out to ride when there's no one around, there shouldn't be any problem. Just put it back after riding it. She may not do less fighting alone in the future. The meal was ready soon, and when Li Yan returned, she also had some fresh sprouted wild vegetables in her apron. Jiang Baige took it and carefully washed it outside with a basin. Comrade Li Yan, how should I eat this dish? Asked the person who didn't even know the dish. Li Yan was also very distressed. There isn't much oil left. You new educated youth haven't received any oil tickets this month, so it's impossible to stir-fry and eat. Keep that bit of oil for stir-frying pickled vegetables. After pondering for a while, she said, boil the cold salad in hot water in a wok. Just add some salt and a few drops of soy sauce to eat. Wu Wan took the washed wild vegetables from Jiang Baige's hand and went inside to heat them. Dinner is also simple, millet congee, pickles left in the morning, and fresh wild vegetables in cold sauce. For Jiang Baige, making wild vegetables in different ways is equally unpleasant. But for the other educated youth, being able to eat enough is already very satisfying. They used to be at home and didn't have such good food to eat. Wu Lily didn't participate in cooking dinner, cleaning and washing dishes, she did it alone. It's just about washing the pot and cleaning the kitchen. I still wash my personal lunch boxes myself. They were all very tired this day and it was cold outside. After dinner, they all went back to their beds to sleep. In recent years, rural areas have not yet been electrified, and candles are very expensive. To light kerosene lamps, you need an oil ticket to get the oil, so they haven't lit them either. The room was pitch black, and a few people were not familiar with each other. There was nothing to talk about, and soon we heard their heavy breathing. They were probably all asleep. Jiang Baige waited for this moment, her mind moved, and a person appeared in the space. She has been getting this thing for several days, and except for the first time she came in, it's not convenient for her afterwards. Curious these days, she has been scratching her heart and liver, but it's not convenient for her to come in. As soon as she entered the space, Jiang Baige couldn't resist the temptation of delicious food. She took a satiety sausage and tore open the packaging before eating it, as if she hadn't eaten meat for hundreds of years. But she really hasn't eaten meat for several days, so she took to Hong Chang and checked all the way from the cold chain area to the meat-eating area. The freezer is filled with meat, bones, organs, and every part of the pig's body. Seeing these people and the way to eat them, Jiang Baige went through it in her mind. The dry goods area is very large, with rice, flour, grains, and oil piled up like small mountains. There are also dry goods, there are too many varieties, only half of them were inspected. Jiang Baige already wanted to laugh 3 times, and now she really has what she wanted. And at this time, if we sell all of these, it would be quite a bit of money. 10 years later, in the first row of 10,000 yuan households, there should be her position. However, in different times, she can only develop in a lewd manner. She wants to take good care of her current face and go out to sell things. She doesn't want to do this. It's really exhausting to pay too slowly. She still has to work and doesn't have time to do these things. Take a rough look at the space, and the shelves are all full. She transferred to another station to inspect the warehouse, and several warehouses were also full. Chapter 9. Shanggong. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Jiang Baige arrived at the warehouse again, and it turned out that there was also a lounge here. The door was open, and there was a wooden bed inside. There is also a computer table by the bed, and there is a computer on the table. Anyway, this is all hers, just lift your foot and walk inside. Originally, it was quite large here. As soon as I came in, I saw a row of storage cabinets leaning against the wall. On top of each cabinet, there are also keys inserted. I don't know what this thing is for at the moment, but she thinks that if it's here, the only way is to save money. Reasonable, too reasonable. Arriving in front of the computer again, Jiang Baige clicked with the mouse, and surprisingly, the computer was still on. But what kind of game? There's nothing like online TV. After she clicked into the system, she realized that only the situation of incoming and outgoing goods could be seen above. Jiang Baige sighed, how great it would be to be able to access the internet in this damn life. In this life, she is no longer alone. At this moment, the big red intestine in her hand also entered her stomach, and she felt a dry mouth and tongue. Thinking of finding something to quench my thirst, I wandered back to the fruit selling area. She picked up another orange and peeled it as she walked, smelling the smell of orange peel, and suddenly felt refreshed. The fruit area is full, and there are basically all the fruits on the market here. Jiang Baige also patted the big watermelon beside her, and the ripe watermelon made a thumping sound. She sighed that if it weren't for the cold now, she would have opened one and tasted it immediately. She went to the vegetable area again, where there were a wide range of common vegetable varieties, and after so many days, the vegetables were all very fresh. She guessed that this space has a preservation function, so there is no need to worry about food expiration. She originally wanted to go to the department store area to take a look, but she yawned. She has been in for a while now, without a watch in her hand, and she doesn't know how long it has been outside. Thinking of having to start work tomorrow, I made room and quickly went to bed. After walking so much today, Jiang Baige was tired and had no dreams for the night. The next morning, when Jiang Baige woke up, Li Yan had already cooked hot water in the kitchen. Their thermos pots are filled with hot water, and the congee in the pot has rolled away, which is bubbling. Jiang Baige felt embarrassed and said, "We got up late, and you were cooking again." Li Yan smiled and said, "We've all gotten used to it. We wake up at the last minute. You won't be able to use it for long, just like we do now." Zhang Hongyang added firewood behind the stove and didn't really care about them getting up late. It's still early at dawn. If you're tired, you can go back and take a nap. Jiang Baige pursed her lips and woke up. How could she possibly go back to sleep? Since there's nothing to do with her here, let's go out and clean the yard. The two people who were cooking followed her when they saw her going outside. In no time, they heard the sound of sweeping the floor outside. Zhang Hongyang thought to himself, diligence is always better than doing nothing. I don't know when it snowed last night, but when they woke up in the morning, there was still a small amount of snow on the ground that hadn't melted. It's snowing now, it's not as cold as winter. Jiang Baige picked up a broom and brushed the snow on the ground, while the other few people in the room also opened the door one after another. Yu Xingli breathed a sigh in his hand and came to take the broom from Jiang Baige's hand. "Comrade Jiang, let me come." Jiang Baige smiled and said, "Okay, here's the broom for you." She was originally eager to do something, but she really couldn't sweep the snow on the ground. This snow doesn't look thick, but when swept, it is much heavier than the leaves. After breakfast, the group of educated youth in the courtyard went to work in a grand manner. Jiang Baige followed at the end of the crowd and walked out of the gate of the courtyard. Standing at the entrance of the educated youth courtyard, I saw an endless expanse of land in the distance. At this time, it was still covered in silver, and the land was like a white blanket. There are several small hills in the field, and people are already working in the farmland at the foot of the hills. I sighed in my heart, and for the next decade or so, this has been their life. Jiang Baige took a deep breath and said, "If you come, take it easy. Whoever caught up with you, endure it. It won't be over in a few years. They will report to Director Liu first, and from today on, they will be recording their work points. A big old man can earn 8 to 10 work points from morning till dark. 10 work points, the daily wage is 1.64%. If you do more, you will get more, and if you do less, you will naturally receive less grain." Lu Jianchang looked at the new educated youth and said with a smile, "Hey, these are the new educated youth comrades. Looking young, can a hoe be moved?" Zhang Hongyang nodded and said, "They only arrived the night before yesterday. Could you please guide them more from now on, Uncle Lu? They are all very small and don't know anything." Lu Jianchang waved his hand and said, "What guidance do you need? If you do it a few more times, you will know everything. Come on, write your name down." Jiang Baige and the others, who were new, came forward and wrote their names one by one. After they all signed, Zhang Hongyang took a few more people to collect the tools. They saw village chief Chen walking this way and approached to greet him one after another. With a smile, he shouted, "Hello village chief." Chen Difu also smiled at them and said, "Are you all used to it?" Wu Lily is very familiar with herself and said, "We are all okay." Chen Difu said again, "Just adapt. Then you won't have to delay your work. Go ahead and get busy." Watching everyone in high spirits, Chen Difu left with peace of mind. Some of the educated youth who came also fell ill as soon as they arrived, and they didn't come to work for a whole day. They had to rest for several days after working. These few are fine, all of them have arrived, and I don't know how long they can last. Chen Difu shook his head and went to the office. The agricultural tools are in the warehouse next to the grain drying field. When they passed by, the people in the village had already started working. Li Dania's wife, Chen Zhaodi, is currently in the line receiving agricultural tools. Her hand reached into her pocket, pulling out melon seeds one by one, nibbling and spitting their shells as she walked. Watching several educated youth walking towards them, quickly grabbed her cousin's wife Wang Chunhua behind her. "Brother and sister, look, it seems like there are several more educated youth coming to the educated youth spot," he said softly. Wang Chunhua's gaze also fixed on the group of people approaching them, and she spoke nonchalantly, "I heard that a few educated youth are coming. I didn't expect them to arrive so soon, but sister.in.law, why do you care so much?" Chen Zhaodi's gaze never left the newly arrived female comrades in the educated youth department. "Look, the clothes that those female comrades are wearing are so beautiful in that style," he said with a few clicks, "and they are all new, without even a patch." She spoke with envy, looking down at the clothes on her body. "Hey, I haven't made any new clothes in 3 years." Upon hearing her words, Wang Chunhua also lowered her head and glanced at her clothes. The patches had been patched several times and were about to break. Chen Zhaodi was still whispering, "Look at the two female comrades in front, one is white and tender. How could her face be so beautiful? She's just a little thinner. Also, that chubby little girl at home doesn't know what good food to give her. She's chubby and just looks happy. And the female comrade with that big scarf wrapped around her, look at her. That scarf is just a new one. I'll have to dig the mud later, it's a pity if it gets dirty. And those two male educated youth, big and small, how come they were born white and tender? Take a look at these little rabbits in our village, they are all black and thin, not half as good looking as others. The old leader in the queue was talking with her mouth stuttering, commenting on several new educated youth, from top to bottom, all to her. Someone in the team joked, "Chen Zhaodi, work hard this day and earn 2 more work points. Maybe your family's Chen Wang can marry you a educated youth as his wife when he grows up. When the time comes, he will also take you to the city to enjoy your life." After the words fell, the group burst into laughter. Chen Zhaodi rolled his eyes and looked proud. Although Chen Wang in our family is small, he is the most handsome child in the village. Maybe he can even marry me a educated youth wife and come back. A group of people were joking and leading their tools down to the ground. Chapter 10. Glory of Labor. You are listening at Novel Full.audio. The queue for collecting tools quickly reached Jiang Baige's place. She felt very cold in the morning, so she put on that big scarf again. The whole head was wrapped up, revealing only a pair of watery eyes. This is also an unavoidable solution, it's really too cold here. When they received the agricultural tools, the remaining hoes were heavy and unusable. The one distributing agricultural tools is the village chief's wife, Zhou Xiuying. Looking at her with a smile, she should not be a cunning person. After Jiang Baige signed her name, Zhou Xiuying said, "Little comrade, you can choose the farming tools here yourself. If you have the chance, you can take that one." She doesn't recognize words, so now she can only be called a little comrade. I don't know what their surname is, so the young one is called little comrades, the female one is called female comrades, little educated youth, comrade educated youth. This is what her daughter taught her, saying that she sounds like a cultured person. Jiang Baige nodded in agreement, said thank you, and then reached out to pick a smaller hoe. She is already small and has small hands, so she really can't hold it. This hoe looks small, but it's actually quite heavy when held in hand, at least 6 or 7 pounds. Jiang Baige thought to herself, it takes a lot of effort to hold this hoe. If we work hard all day and survive, we'll have to be exhausted to death. However, she was just thinking in her heart and didn't want to switch to another job. If she had just arrived, she would have been picky and left a bad impression on others. The educated youth followed the villagers down to the ground, and the supervisor divided up a piece of land for each of them. From beginning to end, it was at least a mile away. There is still light snow floating in the sky, but planting crops is imminent. When the ground is dug up and the weather warms up, the cotton, wheat, and sweet potatoes of this season will be planted soon. There is still a season of corn to be planted halfway, so the ice in the field has not melted yet, and the mud will have to be turned over. Wait until this season is over before planting another season of wheat in the second half of the year. Arriving in the field, I looked at the methods of their old educated youth, and Jiang Baige was just a gesture. She has no skills in planing the ground, with one hoe pointing to the left and the other hoe pointing to the right. After a few strokes, she felt her palms burning hot. Looking up, there were already blisters on my hand, and it turned red from the cold. Wu Wan and her sisters are not much better. Wu Lily has worked less since she was young. She is also covered with flesh. Her arms are sore with fatigue. Both feet were stuck in the mud and couldn't be pulled out. They soon began to moan and cry, with their mouths pouting high. Wu Wan has been helping her family since she was young, and she basically grows vegetables in her own private land. However, that was still too young, and it didn't last long. Compared to the current one, it was still far behind. Soon, the 3 of them were left far behind in the team. This job is based on job scoring, and Jiang Baige doesn't want to work so hard. She tries her best to do her own job well and let others make mistakes. How many work points can you get? She doesn't want to work hard either. This morning, she always followed the sisters of the Wu family unhurriedly. They are all new arrivals and teenage female comrades, working slowly, and the supervisor is not in a hurry to urge them. The villagers had been working for a while before an old lady arrived on the ground, looking very old and coughing heavily. Most of the people in Qinjia village are surnamed Chen, and the supervisor is also surnamed Chen, so his name is Chen Si. In recent years, people have given birth to many children and their culture is limited. Most children's names are sorted by their second, third, or fourth year of life. Chen Si is a rough man in his 50s. While he supervises others, he also doesn't neglect his own work. Seeing Aunt Meng coming again today, Chen Si put down his work and came to her. "Madam Meng, you can't see with your eyes. There's no stone to pick up today. You should go back and rest," she said earnestly. "Earning those few points is not worth it. You've been sick all the time, and you've also suffered." Grandma Meng is an elderly person who lives alone. The younger generation in the village calls her grandma. She used to have a son, but when something happened at home many years ago, her son got lost. Not long after, her husband also died of illness. Now she's the only one left at home, her husband and son are gone, and she's crying and blinding her eyes. She lives alone, her eyes are not clear, and her personality is somewhat peculiar. Upon hearing the supervisor's words, Aunt Meng couldn't express herself well. "All right, my body can still hold on. If there's no stone to pick up, I'll pull out the grass roots. You go back to work." Chen Si couldn't do anything about it. He had been here twice, and the old lady just didn't go back. He had to go back and do his own work. If she doesn't do it, she won't have a job and won't be able to get any food, so what will she eat? Jiang Baige kept an eye on the movement behind her. The old lady had long gray hair, braided and coiled around the back of her head. It's just that the person is a little thinner. Watching the old man touch the grass roots on the ground, Jiang Baige feels so pitiful about her. It was soon time for lunch, and as soon as the radio rang, everyone in the field got off work and went home to cook. Jiang Baige walked wearily at the end of the crowd, rubbing her sore arms and cursing in her heart. "Oh my goodness, can't you take me to the place where I said goodbye? I don't want any more space, okay?" Without receiving a response, she cut again. "Cut, it seems you don't have much ability. If you can get me here, you won't be able to do it anywhere else." They went home to make lunch, simply filled their stomachs, and then prepared to go rest. After lunch, there are 2 hours of rest time. "I start work at 2 p.m. on time, and I am so fast that I have to go back to bed." Jiang Baige was afraid that the blisters on her hands would rub in the afternoon. When she went to the bathroom, she took out a pair of gloves from the space and put them in her pocket. When she started working in the afternoon, she wore a new pair of gloves on her hands. After seeing it, Wu Lily asked, "Comrade Jiang, where did you get this in your hand? I didn't see you wearing it this morning." Jiang Baige glanced at the gloves and said, "Before leaving home, my mother knitted them for me. She said it's cold here and I'm wearing them to keep warm. In the morning, I rubbed a few blisters on my hands and had to take them out to wear. It's just a pity, it's so white that I might not be able to wash them clean in the future." Wu Lily and Wu Wan, the two sisters, were almost envious of what she said. Wool was so expensive that they needed tickets to buy it. They had never even seen it before. "Comrade Jiang is willing to wear it for work, it's really a waste of good things." Wu Lily labeled Jiang Baige as a fool in her heart. "I just need a piece of cloth to make these gloves myself. How expensive the yarn is. It's a pity." Wu Zhuanzi thought that Comrade Jiang's family should be very wealthy, otherwise it would be impossible to wear gloves made of yarn. Jiang Baige doesn't care what they think, she's had much better hands this afternoon. Grandma Meng next to them didn't come this afternoon. The stones they dug up on the ground were not picked up by anyone at all, so they had to go to work and pick them up on their own. 3 female comrades were left far away by the people in front of them, and shortly after starting work, it started to rain lightly. The people working in the field got off work early, and several educated youth also returned to their compound. Outside the courtyard of the educated youth courtyard, there is a private plot belonging to the educated youth, which is assigned by the brigade to grow their own vegetables and eat. Zhang Hongyang thought that since his clothes were all wet and it was still early before dark, he had just dug out the ground. Zhang Hongyang said, "Take a female comrade to boil hot water and cook. We'll dig out the rest of this land and wait for it to warm up before we can start planting vegetables. If we don't dig up the land at this time, we'll have to work in the dark when the team gets busy in the future." In the afternoon, Wu Wan's hands were worn out, and she always picked them up with her sleeves while working. She wants to rest, but she dare not say. Thinking of Wu Wan's hand, Jiang Baige said, "Comrade Wu Wan's hand was worn out this afternoon. Let her go cook." Upon hearing what Jiang Baige said, the others had no objections. Wu Lily naturally wanted to rest, but her hand was not broken, so she could only persevere. Even if she was angry in her heart, she still followed suit and went to work. Comrade Jiang is really lenient in his management. It's not the same who cooks, and who asked her to arrange it. He's really looking for trouble with nothing to do, he said to himself. They dug out a large piece of land before it got dark, and their clothes were naturally soaked through. Wu Wan is not a lazy person either. She cooks hot water and fills all the thermos bottles. Just one person cooked dinner and stir-fried the dishes. Jiang Baige and the others got their work clothes wet. After digging the ground, they all went home to take a hot bath.